All right, so there's red, green, blue. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to explain this one for me. Okay, so step one, we're just gonna draw a nice, simple little horizon line, right? Wrong! Okay, so that's not exactly true, but let me explain what I mean. If we look at this picture, there's something you'll notice. There is no horizon line. Well, technically there is, but when it comes to 3-point perspective, what you're going to notice is a lot of times your horizon line is going to exist off of what you're drawing. You're going to decide whether you're looking really high up at something or really far down at something, and usually that cuts off seeing the horizon line. So in this picture, yes, a horizon line does exist if we saw more of the image, but since all our eyes can focus on is up at the top of this building, well, the horizon line sticks a little bit below. So as you can see here, since we're looking up, we kind of have a horizon line underneath it, and then you can find your point up at the top, which is where this building is eventually disappearing to. Now, I want to be clear since I'm making this point, this does not mean that in 3-point perspective, there's never a horizon line on the page. Because as you can see here, there is a clear horizon line that comes in on this area because we can see the floor. So we know that we're looking somewhat above the ground, and also we're looking up at the same time. So therefore we do have a horizon line within our page. Now, what if we flip this? 3-point perspective is also about looking down, not just up. So here, do we have a horizon line? And the answer is kind of yes. I mean, if we could see in like a fisheye perspective, I guess eventually somewhere way up there, we would see the eventual horizon line, right? But as our eyesight goes and as a camera goes, when you're framed down on this and we can only see essentially down at the ground, well, you don't have a horizon line because we don't see anywhere where the sky and the earth meet. Now, to counter this, you still can have a horizon line when you're looking down, right? It just kind of depends on how dramatic of an angle, but somewhere over here is where we have our horizon line in this picture. And again, a really good indication is just noticing what are you looking down at, like this street, and then what do you start looking up at where you can only see the bottom of an object, right? And that's a pretty good indication of where your horizon line might be. So let's actually talk setup. So you're going to have two different setups for 3-point perspective. You're going to have one where you're looking down, where you're going to do your 2 points and your possible horizon on the top, the 1 point on the bottom. And then you have where you're looking up. So the 2 points go at the bottom with your possible horizon line, and that last dot goes on top. All right, quick tip for you guys here. If you go into your shape panel and choose the polygon tool, go up to the top where you see the polygon and the hashtag and make sure that says 100. And click that gear right next door and make sure the star ratio is set to 1. What this is going to do is it's going to help you create the construction line. So all you have to do is hold Alt, click over with the shape tool, polygon selected, and then you're going to create these radiating lines. Just make sure you have different colors so you don't get confused. From here, you can start working in your perspective line. So everything you have learned in the previous 1-point and 2-point videos apply here, except for all the vertical lines now are going to go down to that bottom point. Remember, this is the looking down perspective, so you can imagine from a bird's eye view or you're in a plane looking down at a city. So you can place these shapes anywhere, but I just want to remind you that the closer you get to these vanishing points, the more distorted and kind of funky the shapes are going to look. If you're going for that look, that's great, but if you're not, that's going to really emphasize why you want to really spread out those vanishing points off the working area. So now let's move to our ground looking up view here. So first we're going to throw in our construction lines. So without overcomplicating it, basically it's the same thing, right? Except now everything on our vertical plane is going up to that top point. Because again, we're like a worm's eye looking up at a really tall building. I recommend just kind of drawing in some big shapes and then carving into it, playing around with it. Draw some floating shapes if you want, just kind of mess around. With this, I do want to show too that you can go down, obviously below the horizon line like I showed in some of the images. So mess around with that as well. And please remember too, mistakes are part of the process, so let yourself make these mistakes and then figure them out too. Problem solving is going to be the best way to kind of get familiar and then just know how to fix it really easily in the future. So this is an example right here of me making a mistake and then just quickly realizing how I could fix it. And this is something that you could easily do within your own design. All right, guys, and that's basically it. 3-point perspective in a nutshell. There's so many resources out there that you guys can use, like Google Earth, or even just copying from like any comic book that has a flying or swinging character, you know, most notably Spider-Man. That's what I used reference from for this picture to kind of come up with a cityscape for something that I could show as a thumbnail. If you guys have more questions about this, please let me know in the comments. I hope this wasn't too quick. This is really just about the basics. If you guys want to know more about different types of perspective or how you add in different perspectives to one picture, let me know. We can always get more complicated. As always, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.